Doug, the homeowner.
Nate Stever, I'm project manager at Soul Design Consulting, the lead for home screen radar on this project.
I'm Chris Dwyer. I worked on most of the energy components of the house and work with Soul Design Consulting with Nate.
So we started this project a little over a year ago, and maybe let's start by just talking about the homeowners. I guess my call was to first say that we wanted to build a green home. So that's obviously starts the process, and in so doing, beginning to do the homework of trying to determine what is green, what is LEED, what's the objectives, and so forth. And eventually it comes down to the conclusion that to achieve a green home, it helps if you bring in, well, it doesn't help, it actually is required to do it right, to bring in the experts who, all the way from the builder to the subcontractors to what you both do, and that's the LEED rating and evaluation and analysis process. And I know our first meeting was with the builder. We came over and we sat down, and maybe describe that first process, because that was the opening salvo, I think, when we decided that this is what we're going to do.
To get a LEED certification, a company such as ours, such as Soul Design Consulting, is required. You need to have a LEED for home screen radar, as well as a certified BPI energy specialist to do the testing on your home. That meeting at the very beginning, it was essentially to lay out the plan on how we're going to get the certification at the very end, going through the various credits, totaling up all of the points, and making sure we knew what needed to come into the home to make sure that we got that certification. So that's what that initial meeting is. And it brings all of the builder, some of the trades, the owner, us on board as well, so that we're all familiar with all of the requirements that need to be set forth.
Let's say it was very easy to follow, because it was very, the paperwork or the screen that we saw, it was very logical and sequenced, and you understood what your obligations were.
Mm-hmm. Right, and we're definitely there to help out the entire process. We consider ourselves experts at LEED for Home, so that we can answer any and all questions and make sure you have an educated, decision. If you need to make an educated decision, you're able to do that, based on any information we can give you.
Certainly one of the most interesting things I noticed in that process was it wasn't just, I think a lot of people think of a green home as insulation, double pane windows, the geothermal energy or solar panels, but LEED is, as I discovered, a whole lot more than that.
Oh yeah,
like where you live, for example.
Exactly, absolutely. And so, there's 8 different components of LEED for homes, and only one of them is energy, which is all of those items that you brought up. The locations and linkages, as you started to mention on, being located in this area with all these community resources and a park that's right here behind us. I mean, those all help you. There's things with materials, there are things with just making the inside of this home non-toxic for the people who move into it.
So going back to the services behind this, I think one of the things I was surprised about, just being near a business community, is a benefit. What's the logic behind that?
So the logic is that that little area over there, the mini mall, if you will, has businesses that are within a half a mile, and it encourages you to walk to them instead of using your car. So it's healthier for you in that respect, and it's healthier for the environment by not polluting the air with your car, unless you have an electric car, you know.
Landscaping had such a big part of the process. Why is landscaping important to green?
Well, I mean, you could build a home, and if you had no landscaping, if you had no trees, I mean, you're turning a plot of land that probably did have landscaping into solid concrete, so which is, not really green. So in the end, they're like, we want you to actually install plants. We want you to put in trees. And in the mere, erosion of the site. So if you're putting trees, the trees are getting the water instead of it running down into the stormwater sewer and such. And drought tolerant plants is something to keep in mind that they heavily encourage, as well as non-conventional turf. Non-conventional turf meaning you don't have to maintain it as much, and it makes it easier for you, and it's just a better living environment. So.
Now, Chris, when you came over here and did the what's that properly called? A blower test, or what's the name?
Yeah, so it's called a blower door test.
Blower door test,
and
okay.
that's to measure the air infiltration, which, of these 8 components or sort of facets that go into a LEED home, I think energy is the most important. And when you look at the energy footprint of a home, it tends to be heavily dependent on air leakage. So if fresh air is coming in, that's fantastic. But if so much fresh air is coming in that comes from the winter nighttime, then your furnace is having to heat that up, and it's a cost to you and to the environment. So reducing your air infiltration to an amount that balances energy performance, energy efficiency with fresh air and indoor health is what we're after when we do this test. So put this big fan in the door and force air out of the home and measure how quickly or easily air comes back in through all the cracks and the crevices, and some of it is designed and some of it is just kind of inevitable. Whenever you have 2 different materials touching each other, there's a little tiny crack there. We have a really good intuition about the performance of a car, and we know about gallons of gasoline and what's a good price for gasoline, and when we should pull a U-turn because that's a good price, and we know, like, I'm getting 30 miles per gallon versus 10 miles per gallon. Our intuition is a little off when it comes to homes. So that's something that we try to do is give homeowners sort of a sense or better intuition of that feeling of what is the performance? What is the miles per gallon of this home versus my neighbor's home, or the home that's maybe hasn't gone to all of these ends and extremes. So we perform the test, and it's part of every home that we're involved with, and any LEED home would have this done.
Okay, now if I brought a neighbor into this house now and they said, well, I see you got LEED. Show me what's LEED. Honestly, you can't really necessarily show them a lot. You can show them some things, but if you're taking somebody through here today and they ask you, what's the most important thing I can see that made this house LEED certified green, what would you tell them?
I don't know, I might take them down the basement, look at the mechanical equipment, and although they may not understand it, I would probably point out this is the SEER rating that makes it actually much better than probably what you have in your home just across the street. Simple things that you could show them are the faucets and the toilets. I like to do that. Mm-hmm. Or even the floor that we're on here. This is a very, very durable floor, and I believe we're getting credits for not having carpet or as much carpet in the home. So some simple things you could look at there.
Yeah. I think I would answer that question a little more romantically, and I would say that a green home is kind of self-evidently more beautiful, or it makes you feel good. You are not suffering from cold feet in the winter. You are comfortable in any room of the house. You are noticing that you've got great views because of your site selection. You are not smelling toxic odors because so there's all these like visceral things, and I think we can close our eyes and maybe imagine what home is, and it's kind of like a feeling that we get. And then once you move beyond that, I want to know what that energy bill is. And so we really try to hone in on what is the energy bill going to be of this home, and what footprint has that left, in the electricity and natural gas and wood and all those things.
One of the other elements of LEED was the fact that we built on a property where there was already an existing house. It had been vacant for 20 years, so it did need to be torn down. But as a result of that, we were able to use the utility structure that was already in place. Mm-hmm. And at 2/10 of an acre, basically we're tight. We use the room, I think, efficiently, but how beneficial and how does LEED work when you are working with an existing parcel where it's not new out in the country, you got to start over?
Well, it's very heavily encouraged by LEED and even by us. We always are looking to do homes in this area or perhaps over the Rhine in Cincinnati, because all of the land is previously developed. It's already set up for you. So you say that there was a building here and the utilities were already set up. So if you were to go out into the country, you may have to go a mile to connect into the utilities, which is not very sustainable at all, especially if it's water and sewer having to dig, into the ground and whatnot. But here in this location where you're actually surrounded 100% by previously developed land, you don't have any of those problems whatsoever, and you're heavily rewarded for it.
Okay. Certainly makes sense.
I think, I think you've sort of touched on an issue like there's all kinds of like backseat drivers when it comes to green who can, maybe watch us have a conversation, or your neighbors looking across the street saying, well, he could have done this and he should have done that. And there's a lot of coulda, shoulda, wouldas. And that never goes away. And I think, if you ask yourself, you've got this beautiful park behind us, this wonderful ecosystem, when is a home an improvement on that ecosystem? Well, it's like it's never. Like unless you're building a home that's an enhancement of the ecosystem. And we haven't quite figured a way to make the economics and the logistics and to make that so mainstream, although I think that's a worthy goal. So what we're left with is, well, how can we not destroy the ecosystem? Like, can we make use of the existing infrastructure, and can we maybe improve upon that?
The cost of being green was also much to my surprise. Obviously, well, not necessarily obviously, but to get to LEED, at the minimum level, I think we can all say that most builders of new homes are already doing most of what LEED makes sense for. It's get to the next level, whether it's the silver or the gold or the platinum. And certainly we were willing to make an investment, a significant investment, toward getting to at least the gold level, which was our goal from the beginning. And in the end, I think we had thought that investment might be as much as $25,000 on top of the cost of the house. To my best knowledge at this point, although we haven't added everything up yet, it appeared it would be less than 10. That's a significant cost savings, not to mention the lower utility bills. And now the creme de la creme of the deal is, by living in the city of Cincinnati, the tax abatement. And by our knowledge of what the value of this house would be, and a almost full tax abatement over 15 years, we will save approximately like $125,000 in taxes. Now you add that to the 10 we spent additional, I'll take that to the bank any day. That's a heck of a return.
Right.
Now, we didn't, well, I take that back. Yes, we did it for financial, for one reason, but the bigger reason, honestly, was because of the fact we thought it would be a healthier house. We thought it would be a greener house. So you guys save the day as the, and what you do to help people achieve that goal. So how do you feel about it? I mean, you've been doing this for a number of years. I'm sure you've just been told you saved me a bunch of money as well.
It makes me feel great. Well, and you're right. Like, LEED for Homes has been around for maybe about 5 years now. And at the start, some of the things that you have to incorporate into the home were not, mainstream. People did not want to do it. They didn't want to put in a passive radon system. They didn't want to, increase the efficiency of their mechanical equipment because there was a premium for it. But I think as a result of LEED and other rating systems like it and Energy Star, we're seeing that the trend is changing, and the cost of upgrading to those things is now very minimal. So it's almost a no-brainer to go LEED or to not build at all, in my opinion. So, and it does make me feel great knowing that we can save people a lot of money.
And that is a good point when you say the word no-brainer. I've been using that to everybody I know. Why wouldn't we have done this? If you're going to build, in particular, whether you build in the city or whether you build outside the city. If you build outside the city, you're still going to have the benefit of going green and the utility reduced costs. But by being in the city, I mean, that is a no-brainer. Why would anybody not want to do that? And are you seeing through your company, SOL, are you finding that are people getting that now? Is it coming home? Are they understanding the process more than they ever have before?
I would say it is getting popular among homeowners. We have always been in the multifamily business predominantly, but now we're seeing a trend where we're getting a lot of single-family homes or smaller ones where people are realizing that it is that no-brainer that we talked about, that LEED saves you money, and if you don't go LEED, you're paying more.